Dobrý den, vítejte v kempu. Věřím, že většina z vás jsou mý kolegové, takže jste tady doma. Takže není třeba představovat, co tady děláme. Děkuji, že jste sem přišli při téhle, vlastně dá se říct, výjimečné příležitosti. Vy víte, že jsme loni získali ocenění od společnosti Esri, prezidentskou cenu za práci s geoinformačními systémy. A taky jsme byli oceněni v soutěži, která se věnovala využívání story map, kde jsme představili pomocí storytellingu, pomocí toho nástroje, který společnost Esri poskytuje práci územních plánovačů, toho, jak my pracujeme s územím. Dnešním hostem je Jack Dangermond, takže budeme pokračovat anglicky. Let me invite here in camp Mr. Jack Dangermond, founding president of Esri, which stands for Environmental System Research Institute, which is an organization that we really well know. And Mr. Dangermond agreed with a short Q&A session, so there will be time for your questions, and I guess that there will be many. So after the short pitch, we will have time to ask something about how geoinformation systems will look in few years and what's the reality now. So whatever, it depends on you and your interests. And first, let me give a floor to our dear colleague Jiří Štyroký, director of section of Spatial Information here in camp, with his short pitch.
Hello, Jack. Hello, colleagues. Hello, also people on online stream. We are making stream for colleagues who cannot attend here, and those who are using the Zoom, you should probably be able to raise the question at the end of our presentations. Those who are using just the online stream don't, but it's your choice what you have selected. Well, you all know, or should know at least, except for Jack, what IPR is doing. So you can correct me if I'm saying something wrong. Honestly, this presentation is made and prepared by Ondřej Boháč, who is unfortunately not able to attend. I promised him to do my best to present the presentation. Well, so this is Prague as tourists see it, and this is Prague how most people in the world think that it is. They normally visit just the very small portion of city. These data are from Flickr, saying where people are concentrated mostly as a tourist. And it's Prague Conservation Area, the city center UNESCO heritage site, which covers only the almost 2% of the city. But Prague is much wider, and as we see much more problems, much more values, much more things to tackle. And we see the good one things. Prague is the city in Europe, and I think maybe in the world, with one of the best public transport. Okay, after Vienna. Yeah, many things are Prague second for Vienna. But public transport is our pride. And also Prague is one of the safest city in the world. We have the very low crime. We are quite happy for that. I don't know whether it's gift, how much we work for that. We have a good location, and we had the reasonable history which resulted in that. And of course, we have to take care of that. And this is the things which force us to be responsible for the city and for future development. We also have, of course, some problems or negative trends. One of the biggest issue we tackle in Prague is the housing prices. It has many set of reasons why we have this problem. It comes from, we were discussing with Jack the digital building permitting process, the building process itself, the inability to build houses, inability to build rental houses and things like that. So that's one of problem. Another thing which Prague has to deal with is that Prague is a relatively big city. It has 500 square kilometers, but it's very low density city. We've got 1.2 million people, but we have only 25 persons per hectare, which is not that much efficient, and it is a problem of its own type. When we our goal and our duty is to help the city to develop successfully and prepare the tools and planning instrument and methodics for doing that. All our activities in this field shouldn't be based on intuitive things about the impressions, but on the facts. And that's our mission, and that's my personal mission, which my team, to deliver the reliable, responsible, accurate, adequate data, up-to-date data for that. This is the showcase of 3D model. We can go further, yeah. And we are delivering to the other colleagues, to the other departments in the city boroughs, a very large set of data, and they then transfer the data into information and into knowledge. These examples are from the very successful project Planning Analytical Materials, which you awarded last year with SAG award. We are quite happy for that. Zdenka Havlova, who is the leader of the team, unfortunately is sick as well, so she can't attend. But this is the very valuable source of information. The most important output in the planning field from IPR is the master plan, the new plan for the Prague for next 15-20 years. And colleagues says often that it's first fully digital plan for the city. It's not true. Even the first plan, the currently valid plan, was made in 90s, was starting to made with Esri technology and is 100% digital. But this is the first plan which was not from scratch manually drawn, but most of you see was derived based on the analysis, overlays, data science on that. And only after that, alterated and fine-tuned manually in negotiations and in discussion with the citizen, with mayors, with other stakeholders. So this is the value which we bring, and our team responsible for master planning did a great job in that. Also with mastering the GIS technology. We have the architects who really work in GIS, which is at least in Czech Republic something special. Prague has the long and successful industrial heritage. It comes from last 200 years, and so far we do have many relics, like the remains of this heritage in this state, in condition. We've got many brownfields. And goal of IPR is to help city to develop the new plans, the new regulations, and negotiation with all stakeholders, developers, city, citizens, and NGOs, and whatsoever, to develop the livable and sustainable neighborhoods and environments. We are in Prague. We are quite happy to have the current and Central European urban structure. We are different from America. We are different from Asia, and so we are searching the balance between heights, volumes, green, transportation, infrastructure, utility. So that's why we spend much energy on that. And when we go to the very detail, what is for normal citizen, most important daily experience with the city is public space. Some 10 years ago, public space was something like a bit neglected topic that city focused on huge investments, big projects, but what you see in a street was not of the big importance. We changed it, so we now have a team who are really specialized on improvement of public space. This is just around the corner on Karlovo náměstí here, some, I don't know, 10 years ago, and now it looks like here. Not big change, not only the evidence number on the tram, but you see also the other changes there. The same situation, maybe even more adventurous, in the very heart of the city, close to the National Museum, where was the deserted island in between the motorway, which was then constructed in 70s. And now our colleague in transportation department and in planning departments are brave enough to get rid of cars and bring back this space for public. And now it works. So impacts like that are for us quite important. Also, global challenges are for us important. We must tackle the climate change, or we have to do something with rising temperatures in the city. We are using the satellite imagery and whatever sources we can use to work with that. And we are making comparison with other cities, how they work. For example, San Diego, the finest American city, also for some indexes, greenest city, has its approach, which is focused on renewable energy, which has the focus on city resiliency. But we see in this environment that Prague must use its own resources and its own strengths, and we focus on not wasting space, not wasting the cars for transportation, using the having preference of public transport. In Prague, we do have more than, or roughly 60% of our daily trips made by public transport, not with the car, which is quite good achievement, and we are hard working on maintaining it. So making city more dense, making city more compact, and making city more livable for people. And then if we are successful in that, concentrating the built-up area in successful way, we then can have space for parks, for greens, for nature in a city, like here in Štvanice, and searching for new connection lines between city quarters to more communicate. We have very much green spaces in the city. So far, unfortunately, some looks like that, well, you cannot see much green there, but we are working on that and trying to adopt new approaches. So, for example, like that new solely pedestrian bridge in that park, or this one, which is the very ambitious project on returning the nature or close to the nature character of landscape on the confluence on the south of Prague, on the confluence of Vltava River and Berounka River. And we can do it only if we will be successful, get rid of urban sprawl and urbanization, and preserving a piece of landscape which has not been damaged so far. And then we can bring more green and blue infrastructure, more space for natural breath of city, and tackling the rising temperatures, which by chance we can face, for example, today. All our activities are necessary to negotiate, to share with people, to discuss with people. We started in the street in some event, in borrowed meeting rooms, in various projects. Even the master plan, which is this exhibition, was widely presented across the whole Prague. But we were frequently asked whether we can have our own space for meeting people, for introducing the new development, and for explaining how it can work. And finally, we found a place here in our institute. This was the filing cabinet previously, with many shelters like that, and a few officers, and we've been able to convert it into this viable, livable, quite nice space, flexible for any exhibitions, and we are also happy that we can host activities like this. And but we are also playful persons, and we use data not only for serious stuff, but we use the opportunity to play other way around. So we can start it. This is the artificial from Refik Anadol, the Los Angeles artist who took our LiDAR data and create like art from that. So just 1 minute sample. And we are going to the final. This year we had the honor to host the President of the Czech Republic here at IPR. It was the first visit of President of the country in the city. We were very happy. It was quite extraordinary situation. So we made a common photo of the whole stuff with him. And I'm quite happy that we can here welcome another president, Jack. We are quite happy that you are here with us, and welcome here at IPR.
Well, thank you very much.
You just come up here and start talking.
Now it's my honor to give a floor to Jack Dangermond.
Thank you.
Dangermond himself. So welcome to camp.
Thank you very much. I don't actually know what to say. This is an overwhelming presentation. Don't you guys agree? You're supposed to say yes. You do agree, right? Listen, it's my great honor to be here. People have talked about this room for years to me, and seeing it makes it very special. I don't actually know who you are. Who are you, anyway? IPR. IPR, of course, yeah. How many of you have degrees in planning? Okay. The planners are on this side. How about in IT or geography? Ah, okay. So the planners and the geographers, I got this picture. Yeah, you know, I studied landscape architecture. I was very fortunate to get into it in college. And then I went from there into urban planning and urban design. And then I went from there into computers. So along the way, I picked up geography. I was very passionate about this, and I got lucky, frankly, to work in some great labs that introduced me to the idea of computer visualization and spatial analytics. This became basically my life. That was, I guess, almost 60 years ago, a long time ago. I have had the great fortune of working in this field, and right from the very beginning, I got excited at the idea of abstracting geographic stuff into a computer and then using it to be able to do environmental planning and then land use planning and then, well, anyway, that was my history. And the more I got into it, the more passionate I got, the more interested I actually got. So now at the end of my life, I'm looking back saying, this was a good life. I chose the right path. So my first thoughts to you are, you're on to something here. And I also would suggest it's just beginning. For me, we're facing some big challenges. On this visualization, it makes it clear that we are at the edge. It's not dark yet, but it's late in the day. And we need to do exactly what you're doing here in Prague. Get all resources, all our best technology and our best sciences, and also our best design and planning skills together, mobilized to be able to deal with these kinds of issues. And of course, they're more than just the city. They're really at a global level. The issues of climate change driven by overpopulation and frankly, just careless living is making it almost unsustainable in the future. So how do you fix that? Is it by some smart politicians getting together in Dubai or in Edinburgh? I don't think so. I think it actually comes down to actions. And here's where cities become the main active theater, the main stage to be able to transform what happens with carbon, transforms with what happens with energy, transforms how we actually live. My thought is, you know, we've been pretty successful human beings. I mean, especially in the last few hundred years, it's just been really successful. We've developed sophisticated cities, we've developed education systems, we've developed healthcare systems. Humans have been rather successful. And the result is these enormous, almost exponential growth of population. Even when I was a kid, there was like half the population. So watching it firsthand destroys so many of the things that I love. I sit back and think, humans have been quite successful. They've applied design thinking and creative thinking and great engineering, and the result is progress, actually. And everybody's bought into this progress. And we live better lives. You know, we have secure energy, we have better healthcare, we have better food, we have better lives for children. But unfortunately, we kind of lost it, not realizing that the impact of our success is ruining everything. Okay, not in Prague. I mean, Prague is so gorgeous. I love Prague. I mean, every time I've come here, it's like, whoa. And seeing what you shared in terms of people who are committed, like each of you in this room, to creating a more progressive and open and beautiful city, wow. I get inspired here, as I'm sure is the reason why many of you work here. But at the same time, the world's going to hell. And the work that you're doing here expresses a kind of pattern that the rest of the world can copy. So you and the work that you are doing, and particularly how you do that work, considering all the factors, all the geographic factors, all the environmental factors, all the social factors, all the economic factors. You and the work that you're doing here and how you are doing that work, making places more livable, are representing footprints for how people should do it. You're creating the models for how the world is going to get out of this mess. And I want you to take that seriously. And in other words, talk about it, show it off, show that it's possible to create sustainable cities. I'm humbled by it, frankly, and touched. This is why last summer when we were looking at all the different cities in the world, we picked Prague because it's amazing, actually. And you guys probably don't even see it. I travel around the world constantly, so I do see and do something humans do, comparative analysis. I'm always comparing, you know, it's cheaper over there, the food is better here, the city is better here. And that doesn't just happen, it happens through intention. And the intention gets right down to you that really envision creating a better world, a better city. When I was a kid in school, I got so excited because I saw the power of computing and the power of systems analysis and the power of visualization and how it might affect my career. My wife and I were both living and going to school in Boston, and one Saturday we simply said, you know, we don't want to protest on the streets, because at that time in the 60s there was a lot of this going on, the war, the beginning of the environmental movement and so on. We didn't want to do that. We didn't want to go political. We wanted to actually see if we could make our life matter in other ways, like try to get people thinking about the idea of applying systems thinking and computing and the power of exactly what you're doing into the design field. And so that's been my own personal story, is working on that. And my colleagues have done our best to try to build tools. That's our answer. But the tools are not the real answer. It's the application of the tools to create systems that actually are sustainable and respond to basically all of these challenges. In putting these slides together, I was simply saying, look, modern city management and sustainability, frankly, starts with geography, the science of our world. Those of you who are geographers, it's the science of our bloody world. And that means seeing the world as a single ecosystem, integrating all the factors. It's a kind of language. It's a kind of language for planners. It not only organizes all the factors, it illuminates the patterns of relationships between this and that. And finally, it allows us to create holistic solutions that consider all the factors. And that's basically, as I see it, what you're doing here. This leads to the notion of a geographic approach. Now, not everybody takes the geographic approach. The geographic approach is a kind of way of thinking and problem solving that integrates all the data. And I'm sorry, I'm just rambling on here. I hope it's okay. It's collaborative, meaning multiple disciplines. It's holistic thinking. It's not just optimizing for money or optimizing for the environment. It's in many ways open and visual. The tools of GIS which you use and show here are understandable to people. So it's not just smart ideas, it's making them understandable to people. That's in many ways the power of what this organization uniquely is showing can be done. And I would assert it's a foundation for action. The notion of building these digital twins like we saw here are to not just make a static digital twin, but create a living digital twin so that every every action that's taken in Prague reflects a kind of transaction. So every building that's built makes the whole thing work. And the vision that I think you have is this notion of connecting every part of the city in such a way that you create a living digital twin that supports all human action. That's the big idea of an information system, not about the money, but about the city and all of its actions. Now, that notion means application of this digital twin for planning, understanding neighborhood characteristics, driving business intelligence, creating sustainable policies, scenario planning, as we saw in this actual visualization. And then most importantly is the notion of connecting, like this room is designed to do, connecting through the digital media with citizens so that you can tell stories. The story maps that you create here touch people. Storytelling with maps is what I would almost describe as a new language. Every day, thousands and thousands of story maps are created, which are not just the technology, but they tell stories about the city. They tell stories about your intention to design a sustainable city. They're all about letting everybody else in on the secret of what you're imagining Prague will be. And engaging public is important. I know housing is a big issue here. It's also a big issue in Southern California. In Los Angeles, there are 176,000 people living on the street. And they're not just crazy. They're not just drug addicts. They're because the housing price got too damn high. So we have tens of thousands of women living in their cars on the street. Can you believe that? In a modern civilization? Okay. Unbelievable. So being able to create sustainable development isn't just nicey carbon sequestration. It's being able to create livable cities that participate with the public, that make new designs for redevelopment, as you showed in this slide. And boy, isn't that exciting? I mean, like I said before, this is a great career. I mean, I think you made the right choice to be here. People want to have some of that stuff in their life. And so this organization particularly, as you evolve and create this city, isn't just about this city. I'll conclude with this notion of you need to write about it. You need to write not just about the successes of the city, but also where you screwed up. You know, life is an experiment for me. And sometimes we try this and we try that, and sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. When it doesn't work out, share that. It's sometimes more important than the successes that you create. So, look, climate resilience and development is going to be big. These are some examples of your work, but also in Vienna, creating whole new planned development and evaluating the impacts, setting up green infrastructure in cities as part of its fundamental infrastructure. These are big deals. And so I'll simply conclude, once again, you have an important role in creating sustainable cities. You know, like, oh, you mean me, just little me? Yes, you, absolutely. And again, I'll just hit on what the roles are. It's first understanding the situation and explaining it to others so that people understand about the housing issue here or about green infrastructure here. That's a big job. It's also about determining what's needed and wanted. One of my best friends when I was, I guess, the age of many of you here, young person, told me, I mean, actually he was so successful. Everything that he did was successful. Have you ever known anybody like this? I mean, as a young kid, I was saying, how the hell does he do this? everything he does is, finally I told him, I said, Werner, how is it that everything you touch is successful? He said, oh, it's very simple. I said, okay, tell me. He says, I figure out what's needed and wanted. And then I do that. It's really a remarkable thing. He taught me these phrases. You should be interested, not interesting. Lots of people are interesting. You know, they have white shoes. They have, no offense to anybody in white shoes, but they try to look interesting. They try to be interesting. But once in a while, you find a person who's actually interested in you. That's such a gift. He taught me that. Also, creating holistic solutions. And then, in these days, making sustainability a real priority. And then leveraging the best science and the best tools. This is really exciting. This is what keeps me very excited with the work that I do, is learning the new tools, advancing the new tools. And then in all of this work, both on the science side and the design side, is having a relationship with the public. I met the vice mayor a few minutes ago. Maintaining public trust. Trust is a must, in a way, in the work that you do. So creating cities also has to have a vision of implementing this geographic thinking, holistic thinking. And it's also just going to take your hearts and minds and being genuinely interested in it. So I'll stop right there, but you asked me to say a couple words about what gets me excited. And also, I hope that it was meaningful to you in the sense that it gets you excited, because your work here is profound. Anyway, I'll just stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your interest. Thank you. I will ask my colleague if he will help me with chairs, and I will ask you guys if you will join me for a short Q&A session. If you have any questions, please get ready, prepare questions. You will have a time to ask few. We also have some colleagues from Brno and other cities who join us via Zoom, so if they will have any questions, we will let them ask. So please, Jiří, Mr. Dangermond, join me here.
Are you going to sit in the center?
Better, because I don't want to sit in between of you two.
It feels safer on that side.
Yeah, that's better, because I'm standing very often.
No, you should be here.
I'm sorry. So if there are any questions, please raise your hand and feel free to ask. My colleague will pass you a microphone, and you will have a chance to ask Jiří or Jack something about what we have seen in those two presentations. So is there any question? Yes, here in the second row, please. Welcome to camp.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Arni. I come from the State Land Office. I'm just curious. You mentioned your excitement about new tools.
Yes.
So my question would be, how do you see the role of AI in GIS or in planning in general?
Well, it has huge possibilities, not just in planning, as you know, in healthcare, medicine, discovery. And it falls kind of in two categories. First, it's applying traditional AI and machine learning to creating models about how things work. So in imagery, for example, this is transforming GIS itself. It's being able to pull features off of images in near real time. Utility companies like CEZ here, but also in France and in my country, are flying drones. They're detecting on transmission lines things that are broken or vegetation that's encroaching. And this is saving enormous amounts of money. In Cyprus, for example, imagery for the whole country is being classified and overlaid against digital cadastre and flagging illegal construction that's going on. And I mean, I can go on. There's hundreds of thousands of downloads of the models that we have built on imagery, and they're being incorporated into the sort of practical stuff of GIS operations. So lots of potential there, and they're getting better. It's automating workflows, connecting remote sensing to what's so. In the area of generative AI, the sort of chat GPT, this is still a research project. I mean, as exciting as it is to consumers to have your term paper written automatically, that sort of thing, it's a little less defined. I mean, what we're doing at Esri is working on integrating it into the ability to find things in documentation or computer assist how people write simple codes like in notebooks or in JavaScript work. And also fill out forms for people like Survey 123 so that using generative processes to automatically build questionnaires for the statistics organizations or citizen surveys. For me, the most exciting part is researching, but it's being able to connect to things like ArcGIS Online, which has 62 million maps in it, and ask a question like, where should I locate a new Starbucks restaurant or a new healthcare center, and have it pull the data sets out, and then regress upon other models that have been built to understand the formulas for weighted overlay to be able to make a map, and then design the graphic that is most valuable, and then develop a story map based on collective experience that it grabs here and there. But the risk of it, of course, is huge, that it doesn't, it hallucinates or it doesn't really quite get it. And so I would say this is going to be a research project for a few years. And those of you who are caring about this will pay attention to it and evolve, and the models will get smarter and the methods will get smarter. So I see it as a huge benefit to our field, but we need to be cautious about it, because that one item I said about maintaining the public trust is really important. Otherwise, maps are interesting because people believe them. You know what I'm talking about? I mean, they're really credible. They're believable things. They're not going to the right or the left. And those of you who are map makers know that's sort of bullshit, because actually, cartographers can tell bad stories. And in this frame of reference of false news, there's problems. So we need to maintain the public trust as we move GIS into this area where information is assembled automatically and answers are given. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question and also the answer. Another one here. Welcome to discussion.
Thank you. Hi, Rob. Your friend and colleague, Bill Moreland, said his biggest regret in life is creating shapefile.
Well, Bill didn't do it. It was Jeff Jackson that did it.
But he was doing a session in San Diego with History of GIS.
Yeah.
And he said that the biggest regret is the shapefile. Do you have something similar in the field of GIS? And if not, you can even come up with some misconception you held before that didn't true, that didn't...
Well, I think shapefiles is actually pretty swell. It was the first open spatial data structure. And shapefiles became the OGC standard for simple features inside of relational databases. That changed the world. So we contributed shapefiles and worked with a number of other participants to get it to become a standard. I think it changed the world, actually. First, because it was open. Second, because it was simple. And there's this problem with data models that people want to over-complex them. Simple data structures like that, like Cobb did with relational databases, are very interesting because they operate with tools in a formal first principles way. Shapefiles did that for our industry. With additional computing, of course, we can get richer models, topological models, and so on. So I don't know. I would disagree with Bill on that contribution. In fact, it bothers me a lot. I'm going to strangle him when I get back home. But are you asking, do I have regrets or mistakes?
Something in GIS related to GIS, like, or if you can't come up with something on such a short notice, some misconception you held before about GIS that it would evolve in some ways, and that didn't turn out to be true. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I know this is weird, but I think I have seen pretty much what's going to happen over my career. And there has really not been any false things that were false negatives or that I forecasted. I'm not saying I'm a brainiac or anything, but pretty much everything is falling into place. And as I see the future, it is massive in its deployment. So the underlying concepts of geographic thinking that I've been talking about here and its application to pretty much everything that humans do is going to occur. Maps will become an embedded language. We're working with Microsoft right now on their new Fabric. I don't know if you read about Fabric. It's worth reading about if you don't know about it. But embedding maps into the fundamental next generation of Microsoft technology in Azure. It's quite extraordinary. So I didn't actually forecast that, but I sort of had an intuition that that would occur. They have about 1 billion users on the planet. Nobody voted for it, they just bought it, you know. So being able to get mapping into that frame so that people can become more spatially literate and see things like many of us do here in this room spatially and be able to communicate through maps, I think is one of the big things that's just about going to happen, along with smarter maps, of course, and along with the integration of AI. So AI is a separate technology, it's not GIS, but like other fields, AI and all of its aspects is becoming integrated into the tools we build so that people will get smarter. They won't even know it's AI underneath it. That's sort of my belief system in how that's going to evolve. And that'll impact human action.
Okay, thank you very much. Another question, please. Anyone? Yes, there, great. And if there's someone on Zoom, so please get ready. If you have any questions, we will be open to let you ask, please.
Hi, my name is Ellen. I'm the creator of the story map, and I don't have a question actually. I just wanted to thank all of your colleagues and those who provided the support and webinars for creating story maps, because in the end it felt like half of the earth should go back to you, and it was an enormous help. Thank you.
Yeah, story maps were really a nice one. That was invented by a man called Alan Carroll. He was the chief cartographer for National Geographic Society in our country and worked there for 20 years, 25 years. And then he joined Esri in his retirement. And he invented this, amazing language. And it keeps getting better. The new one that's just coming out this fall is called briefings. So it's a way to sort of do a briefing with a story map. So I don't know if your president really gets briefed by story maps. You guys should work a little harder, really. Look, in the United States, our president and the 2 presidents before him were briefed in something called the Daily Brief every morning at 7:30 using story maps. So they brought together the whole world and told him and tell him now what's going on. So maps are becoming a language that executives understand really quickly. How many of you looked at the COVID map by Johns Hopkins? That was looked at 1.6 trillion times. and it changed the way people understood COVID through the language of maps and spatial diffusion. And, you know, people came to understand geography and what was happening with this disease through mapping. So that's my great hope with climate change, is that we don't talk about it, about false news or going to the right or going to the left. People just see it, and it becomes believable. Those of you who are cartographers know that that's a risky area, but still, people do still believe in science. And you who are working in this field know that you have enormous power in education. So this new version of the briefing, it's called a briefing book story map, allows you to do like a PowerPoint brief like I did, except it's interactive with real data. So you can be talking about the fires in California in the forests and be looking at it in near real time. So our governor, his name is Newsom. He might become president someday. Came by our office about 3 weeks ago, and he saw it. And so he asked if he could have a briefing book that he now has on his iPad, and he has 27 or 28 variables that give him the real-time situation across California on unemployment, housing issue, fire, drought, sea level rise, flooding, some other things. And this portfolio of maps is interesting, and I would challenge you to build it for your president. Just have a little iPad here. You can look at security issues for the whole country. You can look at forest issues, agricultural production issues, all the issues that he cares about, obviously, and let him, you know, it's easy to build these, as you know, from story map building.
Yeah, our story map was actually awarded, so I guess that's the proof that we believe in them, and maybe they should be a tool how to introduce complicated topics that we are stuck in, like transportation, etc.,
Yeah.
in the cities, and try to explain people how these complex problems, how complex these problems are, and
Look,
how to understand
consumer
them.
mapping demonstrates how popular it is, right? Where is it? How do I get there? Or how's the traffic? Or how long is it going to take Peter to take me to the airport tomorrow? Everybody uses this, and they like it. So how about dealing with the real policies that have to be dealt with, like the housing issue in real time, or, I mean, I don't know what they are. You can make them up.
I'm sorry, we actually have time for one question, maybe.
Sure.
One more question. So if there's any question, please raise your hand and use the time for a question. There, great.
You can ask me anything, by the way.
Welcome to camp.
Hello, my
Hi.
name is Katerina, and I would like to ask you, what is Esri approach to use of your products in military?
It's used extensively, actually, but not by Russians.
So do you have any like policies to whom you can sell the product, or what is your approach?
We have a number of countries that we, from a policy perspective, won't sell it into. But generally, I like to have these tools go everywhere, into every field, because they impact people. In the 1970s, our software went into Libya. This was when Gaddafi was there. And they used it for modernizing their cadastre for a while, and also for exploration work. And when the country was sanctioned, well, some people sanctioned me. They said, Jack, what are you selling to Libya for? They're a terrorist center at the time, and particularly Gaddafi. And my own reaction is that by getting our technology into the hands of everyone, it actually results in geographic thinking, getting people to see context, not just content. And so after Libya reopened, I went back. I went to Tripoli. And it just turned out I went to a user meeting. And these people were just amazing. They'd been like into a dark room for about 15 years, and they were applying it on this and applying it on that, and so enthusiastic. The collaboration benefits of our tools are big. Being able to work with both the environmental side and also fossil fuel side, or coming to compromising with respect to development versus conservation. And so I want my tools to be used by everyone. I mean, the warfighters in Ukraine are using it and being supported by Esri Ukraine. And you know, the owner of Esri Ukraine's house was bombed, but he mustered the strength to work with us to get resources going, and they're, you know, they're doing amazing work. So I'm okay with that. I mean, some people are anti-military or anti this or that. I just don't like it. I like to make sure everybody is treated equally. Okay, conservation organizations, you probably know this, get our software for free, and there's about 11,000 NGOs and conservation organizations and education organizations that get the same support as our other customers. So I like that idea. But yeah, it's an interesting question, isn't it? Should we, it's a dilemma. Should we sell to this or that? I think no, that the innovation of, or the science of geography became prolific in the 1800s, and it really changed people's understanding of the world. I think the same is true with the mechanical or digital version of geography. I want commercial companies using it. I want governments using it. I want the academy using it. I want teachers using it because it's a language. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Sure.
So maybe one last question for both of you. What do you think is the next step in geographic systems and technology that we have seen here? What is the next step that will move us forward? Is that something that we are waiting for, or is that something that is already ready and we just have to implement it? What will help us to move forward, maybe against the climate changes?
I think all of those things. There has to be more recognition of it. That's part of the reason why I'm here. It has to become easier. There's lots of people working on that. It has to become embedded, so the work with Microsoft and with Apple and with Autodesk in the engineering area and with Adobe in the graphics area, embedding the same tools are really, that's a big trend. In the visualization, you know, everything's moving to the browser with JavaScript 4x, so you can cache tools that don't cost anything inside the browser and let everybody interact with maps. So the democratization of geographic systems of record through web-based interactive maps are growing. They're getting smarter with AI and machine learning. That's real progress because it'll automate things. It'll allow us to do better analytics. So it's not a revolution in our field, but it's one of the elements that'll continue. More integration of imagery, and particularly real-time imagery. These small sats, you know, today we get a picture down, we analyze the picture and so forth, but within a year and a half, there's going to be high-resolution satellites that cover the entire globe with daily coverage. I don't know how it was with you when you first opened Google Earth, and I mean, consumers opened it up and they panned around and they zoomed right to their house, thinking that somebody's going to look at them in their swimming pool or something like that, that it was real time. Actually, within about a year and a half, that's actually going to be the way it is. Persistent imagery surveillance and then analytics of imagery, and that will drive changes in human behavior. So I'm certain of that. I hope I can see it.
Okay.
I mean, the idea that we can have a real-time digital Earth that guides human action with smart science. This is sort of the magnification of what you were talking about of a digital city or a digital twin of a city. And let me say one last thing. I'm sorry to ramble here.
No.
That technology, with every advance of technology, there's an old science saying, with every advance of technology or every advance of technique, there's an advance of method. I didn't quite understand that when I was a kid, but you know, with every advance in telescopes, there was an advance in astronomy. With every advance in microscopes, there was advance in the whole biotech. So let me simply say, technology in our field keeps advancing. In people like Bill Moreland, but 2,000 other ones like them. There are 2 of them here, by the way, that are the most gifted developers. Where are you? That one right there, and the guy sitting next to him. Stand up. Pascal Mueller, and okay, these, if you get a chance to meet these guys, they're gods in my world. They're inventing smart cities, urban planning. They're really amazing. Anyway, there's a few thousand of them in my organization, but then thousands more who are inventing new tools. And those tools result in changes in method. So before urban, for example, urban planning was done differently. But with the invention of those tools, suddenly there's a change in methodologies for planning. So all of these different industries their methods are changing, they're transforming because the tools are changing. And if you look at your life, you know, what did you do before smartphones? Or what did you do before whatever? You change your life pattern. And so this technology and how you're applying it is going to evolve. And as those methods evolve, if they go fast enough, we actually can create a sustainable planet, just like innovation has always made us more successful. Unfortunately, we forgot a few things, like carbon balance and all of that stuff that we're now, I'll simply say, you are going to be facing for the rest of your life. And so we've got to innovate and then apply it. So, you know, it's not just the innovation, it's not just technology, it's also the people, it's also education, it's also the application of all of that, all that you said.
Okay. And in the context of Prague, what we are into in IPR Prague, what we are looking forward to implement, what we are looking forward to get in the meaning of tools and data technology.
Jack was talking about too many things in one sentence, but what we are, I see it very similar way as you, and for a short period in implementing these things in practice, what we face here is exactly that when we started here some, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, GIS was something like standalone science, a standalone technical discipline, even apart from database things about data analysis and visualization tools and web applications. And we always were, I'm originally a geographer, and we were tendency to see things together, but we didn't have tools to prove it, to work in the complex and data environment and technical environment. And what we see now, and what we have much better tools, and what we see also with interference with colleagues from other departments for town hall or other institutes who traditionally are not GIS-based institutes. They are capable to communicate with us and combine all the data sources and have much better results. And they are not aware of they are using GIS, but they do, and that's what I think it's the future. The putting data, putting the information together, getting new context, getting new ways how to deliver it to the end users, and at the moment that we are getting rid of the GIS like trademark, we are just delivering the useful application. That's what we do, and that's where I see the future.
Yeah, I call that the geographic approach.
Yeah.
Because the geographic approach is actually innate in people who think holistically, actually. And GIS is just a tool that enables it. You know, there's an interesting triangle. Can you guys visualize a triangle? And it has 3 words on the 3 dimensions. One of them is technology, and one of them is science, and one of them is applications. So if you visualize those 3 lines, sometimes, you know, they grow, like when the technology line grows out, science hasn't caught up, and also the application hasn't caught up. Yeah. And sometimes science really grows, and the technology isn't there to support the science, the sort of discovery. And then sometimes the applications are so immense, like the application today with climate change. And the technology and the science aren't actually enough. So this, not just co-evolution, but tri-evolution is what's going to face all of us. It's just an interesting way to think about it, you know, because we can advance tools and the other ones are behind. Applications have to catch up. But you actually had the applications and the tools weren't there. So interesting to me. And then you had to invent the science or the methods with those tools. That's what's interesting about Prague, actually, and I would like to acknowledge you because I'll say this, you have had in your career the courage to, I'm not talking about going to war courage, it's the courage professionally to play around with this and keep pushing it. And in the world of intellectual activities, it does take courage to be able to have a new idea. I know Pascal Mueller had a new idea many years ago. I just was so amazed by his idea of procedural architecture. And you know him now. But it's not everyone who has, or I'll simply say, it's not every institutional framework that has the ability to let people have the courage to think. Great academies like universities sometimes have it, you know, the courage to be questioning everything, the courage to question why homelessness or housing problems here. That takes courage to be able to think it out and then say, I'm going to do something about it. So it's the courage to ask why. That's in your genes of geography. But also it's the courage to ask, why not? Why not create a plan that deals with it? These are courageous activities, actually.
Gentlemen, thank you. That was Jiří Štyroký and Jack Dangermond.
Yeah, thank you.
So, thank you very much. Jiří, would you like to say something at the end? No? Everything's okay? Yes, picture. Okay, of course. So thank you very much for deciding to join us in your camp, in your exhibition, if you like, and I hope we will see each other sometime soon. Thank you.